beginning. Dixon didn't like black people, for one, and two, he just despised his motherfucking black man. The ensuing days and weeks, I mean, shipments never arrived, and each day I was without merchandise cost me personally in excess of $75,000 per day. By the time I did receive a supply of drugs, it was somewhere around 200 kilograms. I lost in excess of $1.5 million, probably $2 million in guaranteed income. After Osvaldo's murder in Colombia, of course Griselda couldn't attend the funeral. You know, she was a violent inmate, so that was out of the question. However, at his funeral, she sent a handwritten letter. This letter was read by the priest at the funeral. To the cowards, whoever killed my son, the ground will shake beneath your feet. This deed will not go unpunished. And to that, it was a thunderous applause. Everybody there stood to their feet, clapping and chanting, Osvaldo, 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 Osvaldo. Pretty chilling for the killers, I would think. That's the way the Godmother does things in her life. So to have a priest read a threat to the killers, I mean, it wasn't unusual to me. Within days of Osvaldo's assassination, the identity of Osvaldo's two killers were known. The money trail led back to Pablo Escobar. He had a hand in Osvaldo's assassination because years earlier in Miami, the Godmother was responsible for a death of one of Escobar's associates at a discotheque. So he paid these young cesaros, which were young street guys, to assassinate Osvaldo. Once they determined the identity of the assassins, Dixon, accompanied by several enforcers, went to a community in Medellin. It's called Barrio Pablo Escobar. Well, they handed out $100,000 in U.S. currency to all the local residents, asking for information on the killers, the whereabouts of the killers. But one of the killers, feeling the pressure, he went to speak to a priest at the church. When the priest came into the sanctuary, the killer put a gun to his own head, pulled the trigger, and blew his brains out. The second of the two killers, he went into hiding, so he was tracked down into Barrio Pablo Escobar. Dixon, led by the enforcers, kicked the door off the hinges. There was a lady inside the small house, about 19, 20 years old. She said she had no idea who Dixon and them were looking for. You know, she denied she ever knew the guy. But they ended up finding the killer hiding beneath the bed. So they shot the lady between the eyes for lying and trying to shield this guy from them. So they dragged the killer to the car, kicking and screaming. They drove him from Barrio Pablo Escobar to Medellin. They took him to a farmhouse. They tied him to a bed, and Dixon tortured the guy with a hot screwdriver. He burnt the guy's face. He put scorching screwdriver marks on the guy's face. The torture had escalated. Dixon jabbed the screwdriver into the guy's nose and through his brain, and he died. It served as a measure of comfort to the Godmother with the death of both assassins. It was satisfying to an extent, but she was still brokenhearted by the death of Osvaldo.
Several years later, Uber met the same fate.
Dixon and Uber themselves were eventually murdered in Colombia as well.
Killed, shot dead.
Past deeds of their mother. You know, they died of their mother's sins, you could say. The very first visit with the Godmother, I met somebody else as well while I was at the prison. She was a Caucasian lady, 21 years old, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, fairly attractive. Amber, that's her name. Amber was there to visit one of her relatives that was incarcerated with the Godmother. She slipped her phone number to me. I called Amber. We developed a friendship, which later evolved into a relationship. The relationship that I shared with Amber was simultaneous to the relationship I was also sharing with the Godmother.
A relationship without faith, you know what I'm saying, trust, you know what I'm saying, cannot last, you know. In your arms is where I belong. I don't want to be in nobody else's arms. I don't want to be with nobody else, you know what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to throw our relationship away for nothing. I wouldn't trade it for all the money in the world. You know, that's just the way I feel.
I didn't hear from Griselda that morning. Griselda, up until that point, she called me 5 or 6 or 7 times every day. And her phone calls just stopped. I talked to Michael Corleone 9:30 that morning. He asked, you know, what did my day consist of? You know, what kind of plans did I have? I told Michael Corleone I had to do run some errands or whatnot. He asked what time, you know, would I be back in the village? I told him, you know, I would be back in the village about 2 o'clock that afternoon or whatever. It was 2 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. I was driving down the street, 98th Avenue, at 30 miles an hour. There was a red light. I was the first vehicle at the red light. I casually glanced to my right side, and it was a Mustang, a black Mustang that pulled up beside me. 3 little young Latin guys, you know, which I thought were Mexicans. Next thing I remember, pop, 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 pop. I thought about it. I'm like, no, they're not Mexicans. I ducked down for cover, and I stepped on the gas pedal. I blasted through the red light. The first street I got to was a street called Pippin. I made a left turn on Pippin. and the Mustang made a left turn behind me. Once on Pippin, I shifted through the gears in the Corvette ZR1. In 5 or 6 seconds, I was up to 120 miles per hour. I prayed no kids ran into the street because I wasn't stopping. More shots rang out. My rear window was shattered. At that point, I didn't realize I had been shot. I was so scared, my adrenaline was pumping so hard that my only concern was getting away from these 3 Colombian gunmen. Once I got away, the searing pain of a bullet wound set in. I mean, you know, my arm was burning. Right here, my left bicep. So I parked on the side street. I called Amber from the car phone. She rushed to my aid and drove me to the county hospital, which is called Highland Hospital. I thought, well, that could easily cost me my life. Why did this happen? Why would somebody open fire on me? I have no enemies. They removed the bullet, sent me home later that evening. Amber came home, stayed the night with me. At that point, I explained to Amber, I said, Griselda knows about you. I don't know how, but she knows about you. I talked to Michael Corleone earlier that day. So Michael Corleone pretty much knew my itinerary. There's no doubt that Michael Corleone was the middleman as far as the link to Griselda and the link to the Colombian gunmen, because they were Michael Corleone's personal friends. Me and Amber were here 24 hours. I still hadn't heard from Griselda, no phone call, no anything. About 11 o'clock Friday evening, which was the day after I had been shot, the phone rang. I looked at Amber, Amber looked at me, we shared a moment of fear. Amber snatched the phone up, snatched it off the hook, and handed it to me. So I looked at her like, bitch, why did you answer the phone? I didn't want to answer the telephone. I put the phone in my ear, and I'm like, hello, Godmother. Because that was her private line to me, so I knew who it was. She said, Charles, do you know the definition of loyalty? I said, yeah, sure, Godmother. I know the definition of loyalty. She said, no, you don't, because you've shit on me for the last year. Don't think because I'm in prison I don't know what's going on. One phone call and I could have your ass. But Godmother, I said to her, why would you harm me? I haven't done anything. Charles, stop lying. She said, even now you got a white bitch in the bed with you. I said, well, Godmother, I can explain. She said, no, save your fucking breath. I don't want to hear it. Bring your ass to the prison tomorrow. If not, you can expect another visit from my friends. In fact, speaking of my friends, look out your fucking window. So I immediately jumped up from the bed, opened the curtains, and I looked out the window, and there was a car parked right here. This very spot. Parked at the curb. The Godmother slammed the phone down. I immediately ran to the closet and got my AR-180 with a 60-round magazine. I ran back to the window, and the car was pulling off slowly from the curb, and it disappeared down the street into the darkness. The following morning, I went to the prison. You know, I was in obvious pain because I had been shot 2 days before. I didn't want to go to the prison, but I had no other choice. I made the drive to the prison. I went through the standard procedure of walking through the metal detector, going into the multipurpose room, sitting down. Griselda, she finally came into the visiting room after 10 minutes of waiting. Her eyes were narrow slits. She was enraged. She made her way quickly to the table. She sat down. She was quiet for a long moment, you know. You could see the tears welling up in her eyes. And after a few minutes of silence, she finally came out. You black son of a bitch, how dare you shit on me? Who the fuck do you think you are? I'm the motherfucking Godmother. She reached across the table and grabbed me around my neck. She had a hell of a grip. Her hands are very strong. I couldn't break the grip. And while this is taking place, the guards, the inmates, everybody's looking. No one attempted to come and try to stop the physical assault against myself, not even the guards. So once she was satisfied with what she had done, she finally released her grip. I said, Godmother, if you put your hands on me again, I'm gonna fuck you up. She said, so Charles, I see you've grown balls, huh? I said, Godmother, I don't want no problems. Just don't put your hands on me no more. She said, Charles, you're no more a threat to me than the fly is on my fucking shirt. I suggest you come clean and tell the truth, because if not, I'm going to send my boys to Brookfield Village and kill all you motherfuckers. You know, at that point, I became afraid, because I knew the Godmother meant business. I had never seen that look in her eyes before. I said, Godmother, listen, I have, in fact, been sleeping with a white woman, with Amber.
I've been having relationships up here. I'm not going to lie about it, you know, because I'm a man and a man's going to be a man, you know.
I just basically fed her a line of bullshit. It was no disrespect to you, but the thing of it is, the times when I want you, I can't get to you. You're locked up. So what am I supposed to do? Wait to the weekend and continue paying guards $1,500 each time we have sex? You know, I'm a man. I have feelings, you know, but it's no disrespect to you. I love you no less.